Now to new revelations from an FBI raid, and the man still in federal custody tonight.
He's accused of running a sex trafficking ring out of his home in Plano. And investigative reporter Morgan Young has spent months digging into the suspect's criminal history.
Now, Morgan just spoke with a woman who says she escaped 4 years ago and wants to tell her story.
Neighbors watched from the windows.
It was a massive raid.
Waiting for answers.
What's going on? This is crazy.
Wondering why the FBI arrested this man, William Garland, out of a home in their neighborhood in the middle of the night. But for this woman,
did any of those charges surprise you?
No, not at all.
The why isn't a mystery. What haunts her are the horrifying details of what and who.
Who was William Garland to you?
In the beginning, we were in a relationship.
We are concealing her identity for her protection. She says when she met Garland more than a decade ago, his identity was hidden too.
Evangelista dos Santos. It was supposed to be very Portuguese.
It's a name listed as one of Garland's aliases in this federal indictment.
What was he like when you met him?
Super charismatic, super nice, very affectionate, very flirty.
He told her he was Brazilian, former military turned tech-savvy hacker. Their mutual love for gaming brought them together. He introduced her to shooting guns.
I had never shot a gun before, so that was all new. Most of the things that I ended up getting into, like guns, they were all his idea.
She says before long he isolated her from her family and her kids.
You need to spend less time with your kids. You need to leave them at their dad's house so that you can do all the things that we're into now.
And those things needed to be paid for.
Do you remember when he first approached you about escorting?
Yeah.
What did he say to you?
It was just to create a lifestyle that he wanted, that he told me that I owed him. I needed to start making enough money to buy guns. They're not cheap. Then he wanted to go get a house in Plano, and that house needed to be completely furnished. That's not cheap. I just felt terrible and thought, how could this person who sounds so convincing be lying to me?
Sure.
So they leased a house less than 3 miles from the home where Garland was arrested in December. The owner of that house said he had leased his home to a woman, not Garland. And she says her lease for the home she shared with Garland was in her name also, paid for with money she earned doing sex work under Garland's direction.
Any girl that has been involved in this situation with him, he has had the girl put everything from the house to the cars to the guns to the utilities, everything in their name to prevent a paper trail that would lead back to him.
Her job was to foot the bill as she, Garland, and other women he brought in created and posted these videos under an account called Guns, Girls, Games. Court documents describe the platform as an online gaming and firearm community focusing on videos of scantily dressed females shooting firearms and or playing video games.
Did you enjoy that part of it?
Absolutely.
The hope
surprise
was they'd make it big.
If you get big enough and you're talented enough, you get sponsors. Sponsors equal money. Money equals a way out.
A way out of a life that had turned violent.
There was times where he would just grab things that I was like, is he really gonna hit me with that? And he would. You know those metal choke chains that dogs wear? One of those.
He hit you with one of those?
Oh yeah, several times. Plastic hangers. Those big giant bone treats that you buy your dog. He hit me with a gun a couple times.
Court documents show investigators observed scars on her hands caused by electrical hot wires and allege Garland also used a dog shock collar and a taser on her when she didn't, quote, perform up to Garland's standards.
The end was just like, you could tell if he was upset, he was seeing red. I feel like he didn't care if he killed me or not.
The end brought the most gruesome details. It's also when she escaped.
He convinced me that he knew where my family lived, he knew where my kids lived, and he said, if you ever leave, I will track you down, I will find you, I will, these were his words, verbatim, feed you sleeping pills, cut off your eyelids, and make you watch as I torture and then kill your family in front of you.
But there was another voice, a stronger voice, her own prayer.
God was like, just go. And so I drove.
She escaped in late January 2020 and reconnected with her family and kids after 8 years. These court documents exist because nearly 2 weeks later, she reported her story to Plano police. In February of 2020, Garland was arrested on stalking charges after investigators found he'd placed a GPS tracker on her car. Then in May of 2021, he was arrested for felony theft of a firearm. The documents show that Garland was attempting to sell multiple guns that had been purchased in her name. She'd bought nearly 150 for Garland's operation. Garland was not indicted on either charge, so she thought he'd gotten away with it all.
I was so mad.
But then, the arrest in December.
I'm glad that what I did caused the chain reaction, which then caused this much larger case, which is going to get him on much larger charges.
It is a step toward a hope for justice as she works to reclaim her life.
Are you still afraid of him?
Absolutely. I have horrible insomnia and PTSD. There's nights when I lay there 4 or 5, 6 hours, can't fall asleep.
But she's free.
Just seeing that I do have the opportunity to start over, even though I'm literally at like square one, you know, it gives me hope.
And when it comes to what's next for the man she says tried to steal that from her, just like the neighbors that night in December, she will be watching. In North Texas, I'm Morgan Young.
First up is a pretrial hearing next week. We did reach out to Garland's court-appointed attorney, but he did not respond to our request for comment on this story. The woman Morgan spoke to is cooperating with investigators.